War between peoples sent a generation to their deaths in the trenches and gas of the First World War. War between peoples sent a generation to their deaths in the trenches and gas of the First World War. Leaders and dignitaries of the European Union, representatives of our NATO alliance, distinguished guests. We meet here at a moment of testing for Europe and the United States.
Experience. A simple molecule.
For Europe and the United States. For Europe and the United States.
Openness, the so-called psychedelic experience.
For the international order that we have worked for generations to build. And for the international order that we have worked for generations to build.
Psychedelic.
And for the international order and for the international order and for the international order that we have worked for generations to build. And for the international order that we're the international and for the international order that worked for generations to build. Throughout human history, societies have grappled with fundamental questions of how to organize themselves. The proper relationship between the individual and the state. The proper relationship between the individual and the state. The best means to resolve inevitable conflicts between states. It was here in Europe, through centuries of struggle, through war and enlightenment, repression and revolution.
Distinct, almost early alcohol-like intoxication. And I find that I would blend very nicely into the gregariousness, into the disinhibition.
Repression and revolution.
Psychedelic.
And revolution. 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 That a particular set of ideals began to emerge. The belief that through conscience and free will, each of us has the right to live as we choose. The belief that power is just derived from the consent of the governed, and that laws and institutions should be established to protect that understanding. And those ideas eventually inspired a band of colonialists across an ocean. And they wrote them into the founding documents that still guide America today, including the simple truth that all men and women are created equal. But those ideals have also been tested here in Europe and around the world. Those ideals have often been threatened by an older, more traditional view of power. This alternative vision argues that ordinary men and women are too small-minded to govern their own affairs. That order and progress can only come when individuals surrender their rights to an all-powerful sovereign. Often, this alternative vision roots itself in the notion that by virtue of race or faith or ethnicity, some are inherently superior to others, and that individual identity must be defined by us versus them, or that national greatness must flow not by what people stand for, but what they are against. In so many ways, the history of Europe in the 20th century represented the
so-called psychedelic experience
among nations. The advance of industry and technology identity must be defined once again. With Publicals have also been tested. And just 2 decades later, in the trenches, all men and women are created equal. Into barbarism. This morning at Flanders Field, I was reminded of how war between peoples sent a generation to their deaths in the trenches and gas in the First World War. And just 2 decades later, extreme nationalism plunged this continent into war once again, with populations enslaved and great cities reduced to rubble and tens of millions slaughtered. And tens of millions slaughtered, including those lost in the Holocaust. And tens of millions slaughtered, including those lost in the Holocaust. 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 It is in response to this tragic history that in the aftermath of World War II, America joined with Europe to reject the darker forces of the past. 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 The darker forces. New architecture of peace. And build a new architecture of peace. Workers and engineers.
A simple molecule can allow me this type of openness. 81 milligrams is a plus one. 53 minutes smooth shift into a light intoxication. Distinct, almost early alcohol-like intoxication. And I find that I would blend very nicely into the gregariousness, into the disinhibition.
Gave life to the Marshall Plan. Gave life to the Marshall Plan. Sentinels stood vigilant in a NATO alliance that would become the strongest the world has ever known. And across the Atlantic, we embraced a shared vision of Europe. vision based on representative democracy, individual rights, and a belief that nations can meet the interests of their citizens through trade and open markets. A social safety net. A social safety net. Respect for those of different faiths and backgrounds. We are grateful for your friendship. We stand together as inseparable allies. And I thank you for your wonderful hospitality. I have to admit, it is easy to love a country famous for chocolate and beer.
You got to believe. You got to believe. You got to believe. You got to believe something.
psychokinetic power. There is no such thing as society. No, no, no. Exterminate. 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 Destroy. Exterminate. Destroy. Exterminate. Destroy. Exterminate. Destroy. Exterminate.
It's here. Can you feel it? It's holding. Everything is in